Let's speak more about those staggering figures with the NSFAS board chairperson, Ernest Khosa, with us in studio tonight. Talk about the findings by the SIU survey. Good evening to you. So, 5 billion rand lost to basically payments made to students who did not qualify, either fraudulently or because of loopholes, as some of the student formations are arguing. But it raises one question. How were the financial controls so poor?
Thank you so much, Tembekile, and greetings to the viewers at home. Let me start off by talking about yesterday's meeting, which is the source of this story that is trending. So yesterday, we were called to Scopa ourselves, the SIU, and the shareholder, the department, where the SIU made a presentation on the investigation about NSFAS. We were all elated on the good work that they are doing. And I must just emphasize that their findings were not only on the 5 billion, they made findings as well on what I call the accommodation mafia, which is...
and we'll get into that as well, yes.
Yes. Now, yes, there was a party at some point at NSFAS. The party is over. So we're talking history here, we're not talking current affairs. But I would like to briefly explain what, in our opinion, caused this. I must also emphasize that the 40,000 figure that the SIU came up with really excited us. The figures that we had was 34,000. You'll realize that this is not a new matter. You know, the Minister of Education, Dr. Blade Zimande, raised this matter in a press conference, and he spoke about 34,000. So when there was an extra 4, we're very excited. What we believe caused this, and I must emphasize, we're talking history here, we're not talking what's happening currently. What we believe caused this is because there were no systems to authenticate applications. What will happen, just to make an illustration, a student or a prospective student will submit the payslip of a granny or a relative who earned far below 350,000 rands, and NSFAS employees will act based on that. Now, that is history. That's gone. Now, what we have now initiated is a collaboration between ourselves and SASA, collaboration between ourselves and Home Affairs, collaboration between ourselves and SARS. So if someone claims the parents are earning less than 350,000, we're able to do that. That's why you won't have many cases like this anymore. The party is over.
You said you won't have many cases. You didn't say we wouldn't have any cases.
Yeah, I'm just being on the safer side. I don't think I've had of any cases since we started with these new measures.
But what's crucial, of course, in breaking down this number is separating, is it not, sir, what was the result of basically a system that did not have enough thorough checks and balances, and what was corruption. How do we split the two when you look at just the number of people who benefited, who did not qualify, as in separating those who got through because, yes, they used a grandparent's financial information to get in for whatever reason, versus people who knew that the financial controls or the controls on your side, as NSFAS at the time, were weak and deliberately acted to exploit that?
Yes. As I said, that has since changed. It's not possible at all to exploit the current system because of our collaboration with other state agencies. But let me also quantify the problem a little bit. The SIU has spoken about 40,000 students who have benefited from this. Our assessment is, if we can go a couple of years backwards, it could well be more than that. But not only students are going to be implicated in this matter. Remember, if a student employed an affidavit signed by a parent, if there were confirmations from more than one person, if any legal steps are going to be taken to more than those 40,000 students. So if there are 80,000 students, for instance, you're talking about 160,000 people. This is no small problem. And I think at this point in time, Tembekile, if you allow me, we should look at this matter from two levels. The first one is that we must never encourage the culture of fraud. Right. So whoever was involved here has got to face the consequences. And I was very pleased with the statement from the SASCO president that these people must pay back the money. Some consequences have got to be implemented. But on the other hand, Tembekile, I think we must look at this from a different level. Right. All leaders in education, in civil society, and beyond the education sector, we must ask ourselves the question, why did this happen? And I imagine that one of the answers will be that you'll find that there are parents who are above the threshold who cannot afford paying for accommodation.
The missing middle.
Yeah, the missing middle.
Are too, quote unquote, you earn too much from NSFAS, yes, but you also earn too little to walk into a bank and get the loan that you need. Yes. That's the category.
And that's a very big problem for black parents today. Black parents cannot pay 8,000 rands for accommodation. Some universities have got very high tuition fees. Remember, the tuition fees among universities are very different. Others are very expensive. So we need to sit down as responsible people and figure out how do we deal with this mess. It's very easy. And
do you have any ideas of how we can do this, especially when you consider that NSFAS you've got limited funds, and every year you receive an increasing number of applications, but even then you're only able to help a particular group, and there's nothing you can do for most of the missing middle people?
The Department of Education has had a very progressive initiative. There was a ministerial task team that was dealing with how to come with a comprehensive funding model that will also include the missing middle. I know it has gone to Cabinet, and I know that Cabinet has asked the department to consult a little bit more. I am very proud to say that the board of NSFAS has presented a 14-page document to the department on how this can be handled.
Are you able to share some of what's in that document? Because I know some of your colleagues, when the submission was made to Cabinet, didn't want to go into detail precisely because it's a document that's under consideration.
Yes, we'll share that with you at the right time, but we have now shared it with the shareholder in the department.
Let's move on to the issue around what you've termed the accommodation mafia. Who and what is the accommodation mafia, and what is it doing in the higher education sector, which yesterday in your appearance in Parliament, you said it poses, in fact, a threat to the tertiary sector?
Yes. First and foremost, we're very pleased when the SIU pointed to its existence and raised it as an issue that really needed their consideration. What's happening with the accommodation mafia is collaboration among private accommodation providers, first for price fixing, first with certain members of university management to the disadvantage of students. You know, we had a very big problem recently about the cap that we set of 4,500 francs, which was a result of intense research and consultation. If you have followed what is happening at the University of KwaZulu-Natal, where there were arrests by people who collaborate, even with SRCs, they go to an extent of even sponsoring protests. There's a case at the University of KwaZulu-Natal where people put on student organizations, T-shirts, came in, smashed windows, disappeared into the streets, and continued with their lives.
Are you able to name some of the companies involved in this?
Well, we're discussing this with the relevant authorities. The universities are discussing this also with the relevant authorities, and that's why it came out into the... But on our side, if I were to add this, on our side, we have taken an unprecedented step to raise this matter with the Competition Commission. And it is so serious for us that we would like to really make a presentation to the Competition Commission on how this matter can be dealt with, because it has got major implications for parents who can't afford paying for higher accommodation.
The issue, though, with the Competition Commission route is that, yes, people will be fined as a penalty that you face, but it still, to a degree, has not been classified as a crime. So no one is actually paying, basically, for ripping off, in this case, a state entity, and ripping off poor parents who, on their last dime, are trying to get their kids a better life through tertiary education.
Yeah. We took note of that, and for that reason, we are 2 steps ahead. That's why we have changed our accommodation policy to stimulate the entry of new accommodation providers who will adhere to our cap. We have consulted about that. We're also collaborating with universities, and we believe if you allow for new entrants into the market, would be much more cheaper.
Right.
That will change the game completely.
Rooting out corruption has become a dangerous mission in South Africa.
Yes.
We've seen, I mean, at the University of Fort Hare, also in your sector, VC Sakela Buhlungu, basically living with his life under threat, his protector, killed. As part of the people who are trying to clean up NSFAS, do you and your team fear that you may suffer the same fate, the same risk?
Well, it's not something that is too obscure for us anymore. Yesterday I reported to Scopa that even our CEO started receiving threatening messages by people who are very threatened by some of the policies that we're taking, and key to those policies is accommodation. So that's very close to home. We are aware about that. But I think we need to be firm when we take these decisions. When decisions are taken, they are taken, and we shouldn't be intimidated by any mafias at all.
Do you feel you're at risk, you, the CEO, and your staff?
We are. There's no doubt about that, but we'll deal with it.
What help will you need from, you were in Parliament yesterday, along with the SIU and the Higher Education Department, but what can Parliament and government do to help you?
You know, interestingly, Parliament raised that question as well yesterday, and they implied that's not something that we should take casually. We are aware about that. We're taking all the necessary security measures to deal with that. But we're committed to implement our policies. We're committed to ensure that parents from poor families and working class families have access to education. We're not going to be intimidated by...
National Student Financial Aid Scheme Board Chairperson, Mr. Ernest Khosa. Good to speak to you as always. Thank you so much for coming in tonight.
Thank you.